Sure.
Okay, the power of the purse strings from SIGINT Communications. A brief tutorial on how the agency gets its funding from Congress. Although Signal's Intelligence Directorate provides intelligence primarily for the use of the executive branch of the government and the Federal Reserve Bank, it is the US Congress that provides oversight and determines the agency's budget. That is why our dealings with Congress are so important. Now that is a very telling sentence. The reason their dealings with Congress is supposed to be important is because Congress is supposed to provide oversight. That is the function of the relationship, the primary function of the relationship. But from NSA's perspective, they don't want any oversight from Congress, but they do want the money, thank you very much. So therefore, the importance of their dealings with Congress are catching so they can get funding.
Exactly.
In this article, I mean, to be fair, they do say that they provide oversight, but it's pretty clear considering that this document is titled Power of the Purse Strings.
What a title.
That their their concern is not being provided oversight, their concern is their budget.
Exactly. No, that's a great point. I think that would be a fantastic screenshot, actually, to either put in a tweet or an article. Just be like, here's what they give lip service to, and here's what they title it, just to give you an idea what they actually care about. Yeah. I mean, even if nothing else is in that article, I just think it's kind of amusing.
In this article, we'll look at how SID interacts with Congress on oversight issues. No, not on oversight issues, on budget issues. We think you'll be surprised at how much work goes into squeezing Congress for money, most of it invisible to the general workforce. Our main contacts in Congress are these guys are in the news a lot today, aren't they? This is the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, House Appropriations Committee, and Senate Appropriations Committee. For budgeting purposes, the first two committees are known as authorizers, while the latter two are the appropriators. Let's look briefly at the process. Marking up the president's budget. The president submits a budget to Congress with SID's portion detailed in a document called the Congressional Budget Justification Book. We have covered this, or I covered this in either batch 1 or batch 2.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So in the documents that were about this Congressional Budget Justification Book, which I think from memory ran to about 600 or 700 pages. So they published like practically an encyclopedia on why they need all of this money that they need. Whether or not anyone actually reads it, who knows? But that's how in-depth they go into to create the justifications for their budget. But in that, they were specifically giving tips to NSA managers on how to add fat to the budget requirements, on how to squeeze them for more money, basically. And they went so far as there's actually an office, they probably referenced the office somewhere in this document. I think actually was the Congressional Liaison Office that had to, anything to do with requests for money, this office had to vet it, not to bring the dollars down, but to bring the dollars up and to use specific terms and language they knew would get the results that they wanted out of Congress. So, requesting specified amounts of money for NSA and 12 other agencies that are part of the National Foreign Intelligence Program. Every year, NSA's program and budget build puts together this book based on input from SID and the rest of the agency, excluding IAD. The above 4 congressional committees then review the book and mark it up, i.e., they indicate whether they think the funding should be raised, lowered, or left the same. The committee staffers also may request briefings on various projects to help them gauge the appropriate level of funding. The congressional committees then reconcile, this is referred to as a conference, the various versions of their markups, which result in the Intelligence Authorization Bill and the Intelligence Appropriation Bill. At that point, it is submitted to the full Congress for a vote and, if passed, sent to the President for signature or veto. Now, I'm personally not aware of any time in history that they've gotten less money.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they get more like every single year on a pretty regular basis. So the lesson here is that if you want to hurt the NSA, you go after their funding. The same way they do to targets. They go after targets' funding sources and resources. So if you ever want to actually punish the NSA for all of the sick, twisted, and giant historical fuck-ups that they're responsible for, you would go after their funding. That would be the number one way, because more than anything else, that's what they're a corporation. They function as a corporation. They have a bottom line, profit and loss report. Go after the money.
Definitely.
Or they hate oversight as well. So the oversight would be the other way. Okay. The compilation of the book is a major project. Personnel from NSA's DF3 coordinate with the budget managers to gather together cost figures and justifications for every program across the directorate and present the data in a consistent format for the congressional committees. The book is due to the committees on the first Monday in February, which would be in 2 days' time. That's very interesting. How interesting is that? That the memo was released today.
Yeah, we've had a couple of synchronicities.
And their budget request is due on Monday.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Maybe we should write an article about that. I mean, that could be an easy, quick one to write. I could do that maybe over the weekend to bring attention to that. Like, while you were paying attention to this memo, which is important, this is the other thing that's kind of quietly slipping through the cracks of people's attention. But I just want to also address that in chat, in response, I was scrolling up, and in response to that, or that last document we read, a couple of people said stuff like, they brought up Manifest Destiny, that was David Thompson, and then I think another person, C. Johnson, said white man's burden, and I think that's exactly right. That's exactly the type of tone that I read in that document. It's horrific. So anyway, back to this one. I just wanted to agree with some of you in chat about your interpretation of that.
I'm just tweeting that out.
Yeah, and then Jenny Lynn said, I think it was Jenny Lynn said, we have, quote, we have to bomb them to save them, like that type of hypocrisy. I completely agree. That's what they sounded like they were saying.
Okay, guys, check out that last tweet.
Awesome. I'll go retweet it.
Absolutely fascinating to me. I find it impossible to believe that that is a coincidence.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. I think that would be
how could that be a coincidence that the memo is released on the Friday when the budget report is due on the Monday?
It's a good question.
Absolutely amazing.
I think the memo, while important, is unfortunately something that may be used for that type of purpose to divert attention from some other important issues. But I still think it's a valid and important story. But there are other things as well that also need critical thought.
In my dreams, they will get totally caned on Monday and suffer some massive budget cut that God knows how many people won't die or be targeted as a result of them not having as much money. But that is in my dreams. In reality, I don't believe for 1 second that those back-scratching, revolving door politicians are going to do a goddamn thing about it. But it would be really nice if they did. It would be a huge surprise, a very wonderful surprise.
Yeah, I very much doubt it. And yeah, very, very much doubt it. But I agree. I wish that would be the case. Yeah, no, but that's really, but what are the chances that we would read that article now? Like a couple of days before the timing in the year that they happen to be talking about, right? When this memo is happening, that's really crazy timing. for us to read that document.
The other document that relates to this that we found previously is where they say, if you can't get your money from Congress, don't worry, because we have an NSA corporation that also provides additional funding. And that was a major WTF moment.
Definitely.
Because we haven't read anything more about it yet, but it looks like NSA actually does have a secondary funding source, and that it's a private funding source.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, how many people do you think are aware of that or have looked at it critically?
I'd certainly never, ever in my life heard of NSA Corporation as a separate entity to NSA. Okay, I'll get through the rest of the document. The compilation of the book is a major project. We've done this, due first Monday in February. Budget jargon. As with everything else, it has its own vocabulary. Here are some terms you may hear. Fence. When NSA funding is fenced, it means we can't spend that money until we satisfy certain requirements levied on us by Congress. Fences are associated with congressional direct actions. With or without prejudice. When a cut is taken with prejudice, it means NSA must take the cut from a specified project or program. If a cut is taken without prejudice, we have the option of funding that program or project at the level we requested and taking that cut from elsewhere in the budget. A, not A, appropriated, not authorized. This occurs when the appropriators provide funding, but the authorizers do not give NSA the authority to spend it. Which then makes you wonder about this whole NSA corporation and separate private funding source stuff, because who's authorizing it and who's appropriating it? Who's performing those functions on the private money side?
Exactly.
Hollow authority. This occurs when the authorizers give NSA the authority to spend funds, however, the appropriators haven't handed them over yet. Congressional member or staffer. The member is the senator or congressman. The staffer is just that, one of his staff. The staffers are led by a staff director. Sensitive classified information is sometimes shared only with the staff director and members of Congress, not with the staffers, to limit distribution as much as possible. Unless you're Hillary Clinton, in which case you give it all to Homer Aberdeen, who stores it on Anthony Weiner's computer while he sends dick pics to teenagers all across the US.
Yep.